Is Fireside Chat. It's about the future of digital transformation. What does the future hold for digital transformation in the telecom and marketing industries? Joining us for this session, we have amongst us Mr. Anshul Agarwal, Head of Online Growth Airtel, Mr. Gurpreet Singh, Managing Partner, Performix India. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've quite an engaging session coming your way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So I think before start, may I know that what's the time? I think we have 20 minutes. 20 minutes we have? All right. I'll make sure that I finish it up before the buzzer goes on. All right. So, hi Anshul. So we'll quickly delve into what role digital transformation plays in the overall telecom specifically, and then overall marketing industries as well. Before delving into a specific topic, I really quickly want to understand that, considering your experience across different verticals. You have been with Airtel now, you have been with Oyo earlier. What are the common or the specific challenges which the overall industry or specifically brand has? I'm talking about overall, nothing specific to digital, but what are the 2-3 large, very big challenges which brands are facing for now?
So if you look at the overall marketing ecosystem, right? I think one of the biggest challenge, and we are actually talking about digital transformation, is that how do you keep pace with the rapid change in the technology? So as marketeers, I was actually hearing one of the session where a marketing FOMO was used as an interesting word, right? Because as marketeers, we want to adopt all tools. We want to actually utilize all the technologies, but there is a specific bandwidth in terms of product, in terms of what tool to use. So it is very critical for a brand to first understand what is their own customer use case, and then identify what is the change in technology, and then adopt that. So this, I think, is a change in trend, but definitely a challenge for a marketer. The second big thing is that gone are the days where you could run, let's say, awareness campaign, or let's say a consideration campaign without even looking at what is the business metric impact. Everyone in the company now wants to understand that finally which metric is moving, right? So a focus has shifted to a lot more ROI-centric campaigns, which essentially means that you have to have a very clear attribution. You should understand what metric will actually, let's say, an offline campaign will move versus a performance campaign. Sure. And finally, if I have to say that now the customer expectations have also changed. When you go to a Netflix, right, you actually expect the Netflix feed is personalized to your preferences. You don't expect to again go back, search, and this is how the expectation of the customer is also changing. So all our brands need to adopt to this. So if we don't do that, customer will feel dissatisfied without we doing anything wrong.
Sure.
So yeah, so I think these are the major trends, if I have to say, more than challenges. These are the new trends which are coming up.
I think I can relate to this example of which you mentioned on the Netflix. I mean, as far as the customer is concerned, if I put myself into a customer's perspective, I'm a very finicky customer, in fact. So I think, very, very specific on what I need, and I can understand with a brand like Airtel, where there are millions and millions of customers, it becomes very difficult, but at the same time, it becomes very imperative also that how closely you can connect with the consumer, which can finally become your customer and stay your customer. I think well defined. Now, coming back to the topic specific of digital transformation, the challenges which you have mentioned, how do you think that digital transformation, I have been working very closely with Airtel from over a decade now, and I have seen the brands adopting digital transformation, and there are two ways to it. One is the change which is being forced by the overall marketing dynamics, and second is the appetite of the brand and how quickly you want to get to the newer technologies. Now, what do you think that how the digital transformation piece can support or help in solving these bigger challenges for the marketeers?
So if you just think about it, right, there are essentially 4 building blocks for running a effective marketing campaign. You need to identify the right customer. You should have contextual communication. Your onboarding journey or purchase journey should be personalized, and your post-purchase experience should be good to ensure that there is retention. If you look at today's world, all 4 building blocks have some form of the other digital transformation or technology that is being used. If I look at identifying customer, currently I'm sure everyone in the room works with their data science teams, gives them the input parameters, and then come up with a cohort which will actually work. The Google or the Facebooks of the world will give you a lot of targeting capabilities that I'm sure everyone uses. If you look at personalizing or contextualizing the communication, right now, because you run so many cohorts across multiple channels, you really can't manually run those. If you really want to contextualize communication to each of the cohort, there are tools in the market which can actually churn out creatives at your whims and fancy. Even Google or Facebook also provides, let's say, a dynamic content optimization, etc. If you look at personalizing the acquisition or the purchase journey, you would want a customer who has an affinity in Varnak, the page should be in Varnak. If you want that, let's say, a customer who came to your page but dropped off. As a customer also, I don't want to fill up again all of my details, right? And as a marketer also, I don't want him to do that. So you can now with tools, and you have to personalize the onboarding journey. And finally, on the post-purchase experience, especially with Airtel or with any other brand, right? No one wants that the customer should call my contact center. It is not good for the business from cost angle and for the customer from experience angle. So how do I use chatbots of the world to actually optimize the customer experience? So I'm thinking that digital transformation is already there, is happening across all 4 building blocks. And it is yet to, it will only improve if we move forward.
I think these, so considering the versatility and the length and breadth of Airtel as a brand, I can assume that it's very difficult to address most of the things which you have mentioned because the scale is huge. So what do you think, I mean, and also the newer technologies which are coming in, there was a specific session on AI. All of us we have been now overusing this. From a chat GPT perspective also, if you see, 5G is anyways a buzzword now, IoT is there. Now, with this so quickly, dynamically changing the overall needs of the consumer as well. So how do you think that digital transformation can support in addressing these dynamically changing world of us, which are digital marketers, how it can support us?
So actually you talked about the new technologies, right? You talked about 5G, there is IoT, there is AI which is coming up. I think every technology is playing a role. AI, in my opinion, is already there, as we have been talking about, even to an extent that wherever there is a marketing process which is repetitive in nature, there is somewhere or the other opportunity for an AI tool, so that you can reduce your marketing or your bandwidth in those repetitive tasks, but your bandwidth should now be used in doing more strategic thinking. AI is also being used in content optimization. I'll just give you an example. Let's say we all use any one of a marketing automation tool. We use MoEngage. Whenever we send out a push notification, the MoEngage, what they does is they ask us for, let's say, 2 or 3 content types. They will first test the content on 1% of the cohort, and whichever content is giving the higher CTRs, that content gets scaled up to the larger cohort. So I'm saying AI is already there. Sure. In case of 5G, the interesting part would be that the content consumption will change, is what I believe. Because of the increase in speeds, right? people will start using augmented reality, virtual reality, and us as marketers then have to create content where the customer is consuming content, right? So we will have to also evolve. IoT again, we already are, and you are already capturing more data with wearable devices, smart devices. So the accuracy of your affinity audiences, interest audiences will also improve. So yeah, so I think new technologies are already, helping you adopt digital transformation.
So again, so these newer technologies might not result in a very quick turnaround of consumers slash revenues, but still it's very important. And you have a BAU also, which is there and which is sort of bread and butter. And I'm sure that you have been looking at numbers almost on a daily basis. So how you strike a balance between the BAU, which is there, the revenue is tangible and you are counting at revenue, and the technologies which might not give you an immediate revenue, but obviously it is important again because of two factors. One, it is a sort of a market pressure, you can say, FOMO, which we have already used, and second, to be abreast of everything or the other players in the market. So how you strike a balance between of your time investment, of your team's time investment, or as a brand investment, that okay, 80%, 70% or 60%, whatever the time and the money investment is, I'll put it here, and then I'll keep myself ready for, is there any formula which you personally have or working on?
So I think first of all, marketing FOMO is something which we should definitely avoid. Forget whatever technology is there in the world. Is it relevant for you is the question to answer. First, understand for your brand, for your business, what is the customer need and what is the use case you are solving for. If you have identified a customer problem, then I think you should go and understand what is the technology you should use. And at the end of the day, it is the impact which matters, right? It could be impact, and impact has to be in business metric. Impact cannot be without a business metric. It can be in revenue, it can be in retention if you're improving customer experience, it can be in lowering down the acquisition cost, it can be reducing the human capital cost, but it has to be a business metric which is actually, so finally, you have to identify a technology which is solving for your company and for your customer use case. And this is the exact framework which we also try and follow, which I think one of the most famous framework is the ICE framework, which is, identify the highest impact, then the highest confidence, because impact is also you are guesstimating, right? Sure. How confident are you to actually say that this is the impact it will drive? And finally, the ease of implementation. I don't want to implement something which has a very heavy lift, but the impact is minimal. But I would want to identify tools and technologies where, let's say, the implementation is easier, but impact is moderate.
Sure. I think that's a nice framework. Can you come again on the C, that confidence of getting a success out of it, or confidence of making sure that it's going to work?
The impact number which we have calculated, how confident are you?
Oh, okay, got it. Great. So I think that's very bold statement. I have been working, I have been with Publicis for almost a decade now, worked with many brands, and I think that's very, very bold statement of saying that, hey, these are the new technologies in the market. If it is making sense to me, I'll only invest in it. But I think largely FOMO, definitely people don't get over it. So I think they keep on investing. Yaar baki kar rahe hain, so I think we should also do it. But I think that's a bold statement. Now, this is making me curious in understanding, or I want to really understand that at Airtel for now, specifically how you think that being Airtel as a brand, we are differentiating ourselves from the others. As a brand, I'm saying, not from a telecom industry only, but at a brand's level, how you are differentiating yourself in adopting these technologies or any of the technologies. I'm sure the base has to be the KPI, which you have already mentioned. But what do you think that how Airtel overall is differentiating itself from others?
No, so let's say if you have to first understand our core strength also, we have around 350 million users, right? Which is essentially 1/3 of the country, which also means that one marketing strategy will not be relevant for everyone. So we strive to actually divide these users into smaller cohorts. Now, while we do that, we do a lot of customer research. Obviously, the traditional way of talking to customer, understanding why this cohort will buy or why a particular use case is critical for this cohort. After we do that, the focus for us is to do a pilot or to do an experiment. 10% or X percentage of that cohort is tested with the growth hypothesis which the team has built. Once that is proven, once that communication or contextualization is improved to an extent which is driving the business metric, then only we scale. So for us, it is very, very important that we divide everything into smaller cohorts, test it out, and then run. If I have to give you an example, I'm sure everyone would understand prepaid, right? Now, if in a prepaid connection, you have a daily data limit, right? Now, imagine there is a cohort of customers who breach this daily data limit quite often in a month. And then within that cohort, there are users who actually buy data packs. So what does this tell me? There is a cohort of users who have data affinity, and then they are even willing to pay, right, to buy that data. Then what the team will try and do is see if I can say that customer come to postpaid, upgrade to postpaid. Why? Because postpaid doesn't give you a daily data limit, right? We will test this out. So this is a growth hypothesis. We will test out. We will talk to customers. We will even talk to customers who have converted from these campaigns to see whether our hypothesis is true or not. And once we are convinced, then only we'll scale this up.
But I think this is the process which could have been followed like a decade back as well. Now, in this era of ever-changing all the technologies which we are talking about, specifically digital transformation, how the nuances have changed. I think I have got a partial answer when you said that, at scale, when we are working, we don't like, or your wish is that customer should not call the call center or the contact center. I think that hence you are working on the chatbots, or you have the chatbots. But my question is that the KPIs which any brand, or specifically if I talk about Airtel or any e-commerce brand also, the CAC is the KPI, or the higher revenue is the KPI. Now, if it was there 5 years back, 10 years back, how you think that is it getting scale and ease of executing with the power of digital transformation? Any views on it?
So two parts. One is obviously the ease of execution, but I'll come to that. I think before that also, 5 years back, when any company would do a campaign, they may not have directly attributable CACs. Airtel also did a lot of offline campaigns, let's say 10 years back, and I'm sure most of the brands were doing. But were we able to directly attribute the CAC of those campaigns versus what we do right now? And this is the power of digital transformation, because now we have tools. Obviously, not all campaigns can be directly attributable to CAC, but there will be different business metrics attached to it, which we will ensure that we will have to capture before we run the campaign. So I think that change in terms of majorly running ROI-centric campaign has now come in last 5 to 10 years. The other thing is obviously the ease of executing campaign, because earlier the thought was that there can be a maximum of 10 cohorts. Because let's say there are manual interventions where I had to create creatives for these 10 cohorts, I had to upload base for these 10 cohorts, I have to manually see how each of these cohorts are performing. Right now all of this is automated. So I can actually have 100 cohorts for a particular channel. So this ease of execution has also helped us personalize and contextualize more for a customer.
Got it. So is it giving a notation that the base work sort of have been 60-70% automated, and putting investments or your mind on the things which are really, really strategic in nature? And is it what you think that we can term as the power of digital transformation, or is there something else to it?
So ultimately what it is allowing you to do is you are automating all your repeat tasks. you are also saying that, let's say if you have to achieve 100 in terms of content quality, the AI tools are giving you 70 or 75, right? Now you need limited bandwidth to actually improve the quality. You don't have to think from scratch. Let's say if there is a KV or the master creative is already there, the adapts can be made through a AI tool, right? So there is a lot more bandwidth at your hand to actually think strategically. Now, having said this, the other problem to solve which we were discussing was which AI tool to actually use.
Yeah.
So a lot more of your bandwidth is also going towards saying that, no, I don't need this tool, or I need this tool, right?
Sure.
You are also trying to be future ready by thinking of use cases that will come after 3 years by looking at, what all tools are available right now.
Now, considering that mine is a completely agency background, and I think that this AI conversation I am really not comfortable. But anyways, I mean, I think that we can't ignore it for now. Now we are coming to a closure, and I want to really understand that you have given an example of Netflix, where the consumer is expecting, and the expectation is not stable. The more you give, the more the consumer is asking for. So in the ever-changing world of very, very high consumer expectations, in the ever-changing world of where the technologies, new technologies, AI, I think almost the world has changed in the last 6 months with the introduction of ChatGPT. With such, and I think after this only we got to know that there is almost an AI tool for almost everything. Now, such technologies are available. The consumer the expectation is at the peak. What are your suggestions for the brands to stay abreast of these things, to make sure that they are running for success?
I think first and foremost, listen to your customers, right? Understand their core need. Understand, is there within the existing set of technology, what are you missing on? What is the customer expectation? Are there new age brands which are meeting those expectations but you are not? So I think first and foremost, as marketeers, we should never ever stop talking to our customers. I think that's the key. The second thing is build a culture within the organization of innovation and experimentation. What also happens is that once you experiment a lot, and in my opinion, the team should have target to do minimum experiments a week. With a clear growth hypothesis and with a clear success metric. So you kind of push your teams to actually think out of the box, do a lot of experiments, and I've seen in the past that if you do 10 experiments, 1 or 2 will actually give you good results. Then you scale that up. Sure. And then finally, right, embrace digital transformation, which means you should first of all understand what is going on in the era, talk to new startups, talk to new partners. It's okay if you don't adopt them, but understand what is going on. You really don't know. After 3 months, you realize that this partner who was offering, ABC is now relevant for me. Sure. So it is for the teams to ensure that they kind of talk, attend these events, meet as many people as possible, read about new technologies, and experiment a lot.
All right, I think we have come to the closure. We are almost, I think, done with the time, and I'll still open for one question from the audience if there is any. Otherwise, I think we are good with the session. All right. I think, great. Thank you so much, Anshul, for your inputs, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was an interesting session. Can we have a big round of applause for our speakers, please? What an enlightening session that was.